Hello and welcome back to the final video in this training series, Getting Started with PlayoutONE. My name is Dave Bradley Jones, and in this video we're going to look at PlayoutONE Monitor. More on that in just a second. Don't forget, if you're on YouTube, thank you very much for watching these videos. Please do subscribe to the channel. That way you know of any new updates as soon as they arrive. youtube.com/PlayoutONE. If you're on Facebook as well, you may want to be a friend of our Facebook page, facebook.com/PlayoutONE. So, final video, all about PlayoutONE Monitor. Let's just recap where we are. So in video 1, we introduced you to how PlayoutONE Pro looks, all the different sections, and all the different apps. Video 2, we talked about importing and managing audio. Then we looked at how we automatically download and import files in video 3 using File Copy. Video 4 was all about operating PlayoutONE Pro using the log. Video 5 was for setting up WebVT for admins. And then video 6, the last video, was how we actually use WebVT. So we've configured a lot over the videos and we're almost ready to go live. The final thing to do is configure Monitor for our station. Now we're not going to be able to watch over our station 24/7. That's where Monitor comes in. It's going to warn you if there's a problem. It's going to tell you and say, hey, you've not scheduled any logs for tomorrow, or you've not scheduled any traffic logs. It's also going to manage your metadata for you and send it where it needs to go. And the big one for me is it's also going to back up your files. You've spent so long and so much hard work getting this station to where it is. The last thing you want to do now is lose everything to a failed hard drive or someone sat in their bedroom sending you a ransomware attack. No. So that's why we use PlayoutONE Monitor. Now, where does Monitor live? Well, if you've got a server, it's going to live on the server. If you've got an all-in-one box, as we have here, it's going to be on that machine. It's the little blue M from the desktop, Monitor. So here is Monitor. Right now, everything is okay. That's because we've not configured anything. The section in the middle is our application monitor. So these are the applications we're monitoring. And if one of those was to close or it's not running, then we'll be alerted. Finally, we've got the station list at the bottom. So one station we're looking at right now, DBJ-FM. Let's go configure some settings though. And to begin with, we're going to look at the main settings. So let's go to the main settings here by clicking Main Settings. Now, this is the first tab you're presented with. It's the database tab, so we can see the database that we're connected to. And we have the next section here, which is the data backups. This is so crucial. Data backups. We need to make sure we're backing up not only to an external hard drive, but we also should have a cloud backup as well. More on that in just a second. So data backups, how do we set this up? Well, we need to set up our main directory. Now this is either going to be C PlayoutONE or D PlayoutONE if you have a secondary hard drive. Now in this machine here we do, so it's going to be D PlayoutONE. So if I just go find that, there it is. D PlayoutONE, and there's my audio, there's my data, and there's my import folders. Now the backup folder, that needs to be set to an external drive. And what happens is Monitor every 4 hours will make a database backup and it will copy any audio changes to that external drive. When you've set that up, flick the switch here at the top to audio and data, and you will be ready to go. Now, I also mentioned you should have a cloud backup as well. Now, a cloud backup can consist of a Dropbox folder. It could also be a Google Drive folder, or it could be an external service such as iDrive or Carbonite. Any of those services will work just fine. Please make sure you have one of those in place as well. That way, if the external drive becomes corrupted or there's a building disaster, at least you've got an offsite backup. Now, the next section is WebVT. WebVT should be turned on. And then if you've got one of our webvt.net domain names, which also comes with a trusted SSL certificate, as we discussed in video 5, then you can fill these details out here. The beauty of having a trusted SSL certificate from us, which also comes with a webvt.net domain name, is that you just have to give your users a single address. And that's the address they go to for WebVT. Now, the beauty of this is the fact that Obviously, if your IP, your internet provider, changes your IP address, doesn't matter. Nobody needs to know because our static IP updater will update it all in the background. If you want to find out more details on how you can get your own webvt.net little domain name and trusted SSL certificate so you can use Live Mic, then please do contact us, support@playoutone.com. Next tab, it's the license tab, and this is where all our license details are stored. So with PlayoutONE, we don't limit you to running apps on certain machines. You can install PlayoutONE Pro on as many machines as you want. There's only two caveats. One, they've got to be on the same network as the server. And two, you have a limit on how many you can run at once. So our license here allows us to run up to 5 PlayoutONE Pros at once and 4 apps. We've got none running at the minute, so let's fire some up, shall we? So let's fire up, I don't know, file copy. So here comes file copy, and then let's fire up auto importer as well. And then what you'll see is the concurrent license connections grid here will start populating the different licenses that we currently have available. So file copy's taken one up, and auto importer should start checking in. There it is. That's taking a license as well. Now, if, for example, you find you start up an application and it can't get a license, it may be because it wasn't shut down correctly previously. And that way it didn't get to release the license. So if you ever need to force a release of a license, you just come into this window here, right click on the app, choose disconnect, and then the new app will be able to grab a license. Simple as that. Ignition. This is really cool. This is just like you put the key in the ignition of your car, something similar. When the PlayoutONE PC starts, Monitor is set to start up by default automatically, and then it will fire up all these different applications for you. So we would want to set here PlayoutONE. Yeah, we want that to turn on. Auto importer, file copy, live stream. Yes, if we're using it. And you may have your own applications that you wish for Monitor to start up. So we can select the little box here, and then we go find the application. So if we go to C, program files, and then we can then choose our application. Now I'm going to actually just make PlayoutONE Monitor launch PlayoutONE Studio Monitor, which is here. There it is. And we can turn it on. So that's how you get Ignition to start up additional applications. Now the application monitor, these are the applications we're going to monitor, and if any of them close, it's going to send a warning out to you to let you know. So I would say definitely monitor PlayoutONE, live stream, auto importer, file copy, data controller if you're using it, absolutely. Now if you're using a server, you may say, okay, well this is great. I've got monitor running on the server. How do I know if PlayoutONE closes in the studio? Well, that's where PlayoutONE Studio Monitor comes into play. So here's PlayoutONE Studio Monitor. Let's now just pretend we're looking at the studio machine for a second. We fire up Studio Monitor. And straight away, we need to set the PC that Monitor is running on. It's automatically detected that it's this machine because we're running it on the same machine, but ignore that. We select the station, so DBJFM, and we're going to say Start Studio Monitor with Windows. Absolutely. Next, we're going to go to Monitoring, and we're going to go and select the app we want to monitor. So I'm going to go and select the PlayoutONE One Player. We want to monitor PlayoutONE One Player on the studio machine. So I select the app. Then I need to fill out the app ID. And the way you fill out the app ID is you come to the main monitor and you see these little monitor remotes here. That's remote monitor 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So just for ease, I'm going to choose number 10. So here we go. Number 10. And then I flick it to on. Now, if we go to settings here, we'll see it's red because it's not running. We'll fix that in just a second. Finally, in main monitor, I just need to say yes, accept connections to number 10 and turn on application number 10. And when I save that in a minute, that will update on the front screen so that Studio Monitor can send through the information. In fact, let's do that now. So there's application number 10. As soon as an update comes through from Studio Monitor, that will change to be the actual application, in this case, One Player. Now I'm going to go back into the main settings just for now while we configure the rest off. Let's go to the email tab, and here we can configure how we get our email alerts. So this is going to be your SMTP details for your service. Fill in the details, and then you can fill out a recipient to receive these alerts. If you want to have more than one recipient, then simply just separate them with a comma. Multi-station. So if we had a multi-station here, we'd see all the multi-station settings. And finally, the options tab here, we can choose to monitor hard drive space if we want to. So we'll monitor hard drive space on the C and D drive, I think. And please alert us when the warning threshold goes below 20%. Also here, you can change the default recycle bin days. So by default, we keep everything that's deleted in PlayoutONE for 14 days. You can choose if you want to perhaps shorten that or make it a little bit larger. Now I've hit save, and as you can see, we're now monitoring PlayoutONE One Player on this machine. Hurrah! It's still red though, so let's go fix that. I'm going to go into our little C PlayoutONE here, and I'm going to open up One Player. Here it is. So now, if we go to our little Studio Monitor just for a second, that's now gone green. Hurrah! Studio Monitor has detected that One Player is running, and it in turn now has told Monitor, Big Brother Monitor running on the server, that everything is okay. So if we now go to Big Brother Monitor, when the check is next completed in around 30 seconds, we should see that PlayoutONE One Player, this one here, goes green instead of showing red. So let's just wait for that to happen. Hurrah! There we go. Now, you should, if you look closely, you'll see that this green is a different green to this. That's because we shade it ever so slightly differently, just to let you know that that is actually running on a different machine. So that's why it looks different. So those are the main settings. Let's now go and take a look at station settings. So to get into station settings, we're going to double click on DBJFM. And here are the station settings. So here we go. Program logs, traffic logs. We're not monitoring those at the minute. We're going to turn those on in just a second. Last SQL backup, apparently that was yesterday at 8:30 p.m. And the database sizes can be seen there, the logs and the file size. If you ever get a warning saying that the database is too large, then contact support at playoutone.com and we can help you with that. Now, the grid below shows a little graphical representation of program log scheduled and traffic log scheduled. As we have non-scheduled right now, everything is red. The little box over on the right-hand side, that's our warning. So right now we have 3 global warnings. That means they apply to every station. And it is Data Controller, Livestream, and PlayoutONE. They're not running. So that's why it's a global warning. Any specific station warnings will show up with a station : in front of them. Now, if we go to alerts, we can now start to configure alerts for this station. We have a daily alert check time. 5 p.m. is the default time. And we can type in some email recipients in here. If you don't type in an email recipient in here, then the email recipient that you set up in the main settings for your email will be used instead. Now, a couple of log notifications for both program logs and traffic logs. You can choose to be emailed if there are none, if there are some, or in the case of traffic logs, if they didn't merge correctly. So when a traffic log doesn't merge correctly, it means some advertisements, some commercials have fallen outside of the designated traffic merge markers. We've got silence detection down here as well for the station. So if you want to monitor the audio levels, then you can select the sound card coming in here. Alternatively, you can choose to remote monitor. And when you choose remote monitor, what happens is PlayoutONE Monitor here on the server will listen for data being sent to it either via Livestream or via the Studio Monitor application. That means if you've got PlayoutONE Monitor running on the server, you can still monitor the levels even though you haven't got a sound card plugged in to the server. You can have Studio Monitor pump those levels through to the main monitor, or even better, Livestream. If you're using Livestream, you're obviously streaming your audio. You can have Livestream send those audio levels to monitor so that they can be recognized. In the options tab here, we've got further options to enable metadata outputs, which we're coming onto in just a second. You've also got the option here to enable Twitter and Facebook integration. That means that users can post tweets and also Facebook posts to your station accounts. If you want to show weather information on the top of the PlayoutONE screen, then you can choose to enable the weather integration here as well. That's provided by Open Weather Map, and you can get a free account from them. Just Google Open Weather Map. Reconciliation at the bottom here. If your particular traffic or scheduling system requires a unique format for reconciliation, then we can set that up in here for you. And finally, we've got the option here for isolation mode. Isolation mode is really, really cool. It only really is in use if you have a server and you have a studio. Because what happens if the server goes down or you need to reboot the server? We can't just have you going off the air. So we will have hopefully enabled isolation mode for you. If we haven't, please let us know and we'll come back and do that for you. Essentially, what happens is Monitor will push 12 hours, the next 12 hours worth of audio to the on-air machine. It will also periodically send a copy of the database to the on-air machine. That way, if the server goes down or you need to reboot the server, isolation mode can take over, and that means you stay on the air whilst your server is offline. Now, for full details on isolation mode, please go to help.playoutone.com, search isolation, and you will find all the details. Next tab along is the metadata outputs. So this is where we can set up our metadata outputs. So let's have a look what we've got. We've got a plethora of different presets we can choose from. So if we want to send to our live stream, we can say, yes, please add a metadata output for live stream. I'm going to put the address in of the live stream. It's running on this machine, so localhost. And then in the options tab here, we have the option to give it a name, so live stream. Casing format, so whether we send it in title, upper, lower, or as it's displayed in the media finder. Whether we want to delay sending the metadata to this particular output. Quite useful if you have a shoutcast or icecast stream. You can actually delay the sending of the metadata for say 20 to 30 seconds so that it updates when the song changes. Further options below for removing text between characters. So if your library contains brackets and in those brackets it says rude edit or clean edit or radio edit, you can strip those off when it goes through to the metadata. There's also an option here to display the dynamic meta. That's that word that keeps cropping up throughout these videos. When nothing is playing, we can display the dynamic meta. So I'm going to hit save, and in pops our live stream. We can add as many different metadatas as we wish. All you have to do is just keep adding them. To edit an output, just right click on it and choose edit. Finally, we've got our metadata schedule. So by default, usually, most of the time, you'll want to be taking your metadata from PlayoutONE. However, there may be at times where you want to not take it from PlayoutONE. Maybe you want to take it from a different text file. Maybe you want to take it from, I don't know, a different station. Or perhaps you want to display just some fixed text throughout the duration of the show. So how do we do that? Well, we have to build a new metadata schedule. So let's create a new profile. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this chart show, because we take a chart show on a Sunday. We need to give it a profile ID, so I'm going to type in CH for chart show, and we'll keep it green, that's fine. And then I want it to say some custom text, so I'm going to say on air ... the chart show. Now we could do this with dynamic meta, but plenty of ways to cut a cake. So we save the profile, and then what we're going to do is we're going to highlight Sunday between 4 and 7, 3 hours. And I hit add. I'm going to choose the chart show. And there it is. So between 4 and 7, we're not going to look at the metadata in PlayoutONE. We're just going to display on and now the chart show. And those are the station settings. Some final things in Monitor just to let you know about. We've got the log here so we can show you what's going on within Monitor. So you may need to have a little poke in there if there's some problems. We've also got a manual run ignition button here. This is useful for when you need to run the ignition sequence manually. By default, Monitor will trigger that as soon as the PlayoutONE PC starts up. But if you want to trigger it outside of that, then you can click that button there. And then finally, we have maintenance. Maintenance mode. When you click this, maintenance mode is activated. That means no email alerts will be sent. So we can close down all of our applications here, like so. And it doesn't matter. We will not be pinged with loads of emails. Really, really quite useful if you need to do a bit of maintenance on the server and you don't need everybody getting all those emails. Enable maintenance mode. It automatically expires after an hour, but if you press the button again, it will disable maintenance mode. So that's PlayoutONE Monitor. I hope that's been some use to you. If you have any questions at all, then please do not hesitate to email support@playoutone.com. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed the training series. Any feedback, please do get in touch with us. And of course, I'll say it again, if you haven't yet subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do so. youtube.com/playoutone. So all that's left for me to say is good luck with the station. Hope you enjoy using the software, and I hope to speak to you very soon.